Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to day 4 of our training session. Just while we wait for the rest of the attendees to join us, I'm just going to open up the floor and the chat to anybody who has any questions from the training from the first 3 days. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them through the chat system. And if possible, if we have time today, I'll try and address them. Today's training is completely separate and different from the training from the first 3 days. And we'll talk a little bit about that once we have everybody in. But if anybody has questions from the training from the first 3 days, please feel free to use the chat system. Otherwise, I thank you all for being here on time, and we'll just give us a few more minutes and while we get the rest of our attendees into this session. Just checking, can everyone else hear me? I do have a comment here about the audio not being very clear. Let me know if you're not hearing me too well. Okay. Wonderful. That's great. I might be losing my voice as well after all the training that we've done. So I'll try and enunciate a little bit better. Okay. Okay, so I think we have a few participants in the session now. If anyone here knows of a colleague who is still trying to log in and you would like us to give you a couple more minutes, please send through a chat. Otherwise, I'll start in about 30 seconds time. Okay, everyone. Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to day 4 of our training session. As per usual, the normal housekeeping that we've gone through the first 3 sessions. First of all, please try and keep yourself muted so that everyone can get my audio clearly. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat system. There's some chat coming up already, so you can use that to pose any questions. Also, another request, if possible, please turn off your video camera so you all can see me now for the moment. I'll turn that off in a moment as well, just simply because we have a lot of attendees in here today. I would like to reduce the bandwidth of this session so that everyone can get a nice, clear connection going. So I will now stop sharing my camera. If possible, you could also do the same thing just to save everybody a bit of bandwidth. That would be wonderful. Okay, so everybody should be able to see my screen now. I'm just going to do a quick short presentation to explain a little bit about Caseware SmartSync and Caseware Cloud. And then we'll go into the actual training of the 2 products. First of all, I understand that not everyone here today has subscribed to Caseware SmartSync and or Caseware Cloud. Okay, for those of you who have one single license, I believe the majority of you, except for one user, the majority of you do not have SmartSync or Caseware Cloud. Now, Caseware SmartSync is a tool that will allow you to work in a group using Caseware working papers over the internet, and I'll demonstrate that today, obviously, in terms of synchronizing and sharing the data that everybody has. Okay, through this Caseware SmartSync, you can host the data either locally. So for those of you who only have Caseware SmartSync but not Caseware Cloud, you will have to host the cloud, the SmartSync data on your own server. But for those of you who have Caseware Cloud, you will then use our cloud infrastructure to host your data. So I will point out the differences as we go through the training. I will give clear instructions as to which part applies to which type of user. So if you're not clear on what your firm has subscribed to or what your firm has utilized, please have a discussion internally. Otherwise, you can reach out to Afseen or myself, and we can provide you that information as well. Okay, so let's move on into a quick introduction. What is Caseware SmartSync? So Caseware SmartSync was developed by Caseware International. I would say at the very beginning of my career with Caseware, I believe I joined Caseware probably 1 year before SmartSync, and that was about 9 years ago or 10 years ago now. So Caseware SmartSync has been around for about 10 years now. It's revolutionary technology back then and even now, because you're not going to see a lot of accounting or audit solutions on the market with the hybrid solution that we're looking at today in terms of cloud and desktop hosting. The data is real-time automated synchronization. So I'm going to show you in this training how to set files up. Now, we will also show you a number of other additional features that you can choose to use. It's optional. But at the very core, at the very basic of it, you simply activate SmartSync, and without doing anything else, it is fully automated and it will always work in the background in terms of synchronizing the work that you have done. Okay, so you can sync between workstations or your workstation and the server. And because it is locally stored on your PC or locally stored on your own hard drive, it allows offline use when internet is not available. So if I went out to a client place or I went out to somewhere a bit more remote and they don't have internet access, or the internet access is down for an hour or two, you can still work on the file. And when internet becomes available again, you can synchronize that data automatically back up to everybody. So that is really, really flexible in terms of you're not hampered. You're not stopped from working if you don't have certain scenarios or if you don't have certain services available to you. Okay, so in this picture here, I'm just going to quickly show everyone a little diagram on how this is all supposed to work. So you have a couple of engagements that are sitting on the server. Okay, so I've got 2 engagement files sitting on the server here. Now, one of these files is connected to 6 users. So 3 of them could be working in the office, 3 of them could be working at the client side. Through Caseware Smart Sync, every one of these users, all 6 of them on this side of my screen, is connected to the parent file or the server through an internet connection. So you can see if any one of these users within the office makes a change, through that green arrow or the green line, that information is shared and synchronized with each other. Okay. We only have 2 connections here because the screen's a bit small. I can only fit 2 connections. There is no limit to the number of connections. So if you had 6 people all working from their home, they would each have their own individual connection running up to the parent file. So anytime one of them makes a change, the change in this file will be sent up to the top, to the parent file, to the server, and then the information is now distributed out back to everybody else in this little group. Okay. Similarly, on the left-hand side, you have someone working from home, which is what a lot of us are doing now because we are all stuck at home. So if you're working from home, you also have the ability to connect to the server at work. Through the internet connection, the data is going up and down. So every time this user here, okay, she makes a change in her file, the changes, the audit work that she does is automatically sent up to the server and then sent back down to anybody else out there. So if you have a team out at the client side, or if you have a team at home, they will also receive her changes immediately. Now, this server file that we're talking about here, we have 2 options. For those of you who have subscribed to Caseware Cloud, you will then store all of your files on our cloud service, our cloud server. If you have not subscribed to Caseware Cloud, you will then host it internally on your own server. You would give your users access to your server from an external source, usually through VPN. Okay, all of that you need to talk to your internal IT about setting up a VPN connection. Alternatively, you can reach out and we can take that offline in terms of giving you advice on who to consult in terms of setting up VPN connections. So if you host the file internally on your own server, you would then give these users access to said server, and they would then connect to the server and synchronize the data up and down similarly. Okay, so a couple of options here. External Caseware Cloud means we handle all of that for you. If you choose not to use Caseware Cloud, you will then need to handle that internally yourself. Okay, so moving on then, Caseware Cloud, just very, very quick introduction, our own cloud platform. It runs on Amazon servers, AWS servers. It has, so if you want to take a screenshot of this, ISO 27001:2013 and SOC 2 Type 1 and Type 2 certification. These are the gold standard in internet security certification. We get audited every year to ensure that our security controls are in place. And it, the features that's available that we'll be looking at: collaboration, meaning the ability to work offline and online with each other. We have a client portal, we have engagement management, file management, and even a time and billing application. So that's just a very, very quick introduction to Caseware Smart Sync and Caseware Cloud. Now, from this part onwards, I'm going to start with sharing a file without Caseware Cloud. So for those of you who have subscribe to Caseware Cloud, you don't have to follow this next part because this next part does not apply to you. I will tell you when this applies to you. Okay, so this does not apply to those who has Caseware Cloud. If you're watching this recording, you can jump ahead to the next part where I will tell you it's now the cloud part of the training. So this here, we're going to assume that I am an audit firm who has not subscribed to Caseware Cloud. So I have signed an agreement and said, okay, I'm going to now start the audit. The client name is ICAB 2021. So I've created a new file here called ICAB 2021. And I've just literally created this file before our training. It's now asking me for a profile. I'm going to choose the core profile and I will click OK. So this is all this. We covered this in day one, how to create a new file. We're basically creating a brand new file here. And after you create a file, at any point in time, so you could create the file, go through the planning, go through the setup and say, okay, I'm ready to share this with the rest of my team. Or you can just say, I've created the file now, as we have done, and immediately I want to share this with the rest of my team. So it doesn't matter where you are in the audit, you can start the sharing at any point in time. It's up to you. Remember the professional judgment that I keep talking about over the last 3 days. Okay, it's up to you at any point you decide that you need to share the file with your team. This is what you then do. So I have a brand new file here. Let's say I'm the audit manager. Okay, I have the file here. I've created the file and I said, no, I'm not going to do any of the setup or preparation or planning. I need to hand this off to one of the juniors to do this work. So what I then do, I have created a file and I now want to hand this off to the junior. Okay. Remember day one, we talked about file compressed. So I'm going to go to file, save compressed, and save this file. Okay, the file gets compressed. Now, where is this file being stored? It is stored in my data folder, ICAB 2021. That's my file here. Okay. So this file now has been compressed. Caseware has fully compressed the file. Just to show you, this is what a compressed file looks like. In comparison, this is what a non-compressed file looks like. 167 items versus one single file here. Okay, once I have fully saved compressed this file, I am going to move it to a server location. So remember the server location where everybody needs to be able to get to. You have to talk internally to your IT about setting up a server location that users can dial into. Okay, so I don't have a server because I'm working from home. I don't have a server set up. So what I have done on my desktop, I've just created a folder called Caseware Server Folder. So let's just assume this is a server location that everybody can dial into. Okay, I take the file from my data folder. I copy the whole folder. Okay, actually, I cut the whole folder. I'm going to move it. I cut the whole folder and I put it into the server folder here. So paste. Okay, now in my data folder, ICAB 2021 is gone. It is now sitting on the server folder. I then call up my colleague. Hey, Sophie, the ICAB 2021 file is ready. Can you create a copy of that file and start working on it? I will want to review it on Monday. Sophie goes, okay, sure. So now we're going to go and play Sophie's role. So as Sophie, I come into my Caseware working papers. So I open up Caseware working papers and I go to computer. Okay, here I go to browse and I'm going to browse to the server folder. So default sends me to data. I'm going to go to my server folder, wherever that is. That's up to you. Each firm has a different structure, so you need to find your own server folder. So I go to the Caseware server folder, and there we go, ICAB 2021. Okay. I click on the file. Now, day one, I told you, if you double click on this file now, it is going to just open the file for you. I don't click open yet. I click create a synchronized copy here. So for those of you who are following at home, if you say, wait, hang on, Ken, I don't have the ability to create a synchronized copy, that's because you do not have the Smart Sync version of Caseware. If you have subscribed to the Smart Sync version, you can then tick this create a synchronized copy, and then we click open. So what's going to happen now is Caseware is going to make a duplicate copy of the file from the server folder. It's going to copy this file and save it into your data folder for you. So we wait for it to finish, and then I will show you how this all looks within Windows Explorer. Okay, so first of all, a file has been created here, or file has been opened. I want you all to look at the bottom right corner of my screen. Can everybody see the online status here? So if you compare that to any of the other training videos or any of the files that's in front of you, you will not have the online status. Okay, the online status here means I am currently connecting to the server file. So within Windows, let me show you what this means. Under desktop, on my server folder, I have ICAB 2021. Okay, you'll notice that this file is still compressed. There is a sync folder that you won't see, but you will find a compressed file here. Now, if I go into my data folder, you will also see ICAB 2021 sync. This means I am currently working within this file. Any changes I make in this file will automatically be sent back to the server folder. So anytime I make a change in this file, I add new documents, I import a trial balance, I map an account. As soon as you save the work, it will automatically be sent back to the server. Anybody else who has a copy of the same file on their computer will receive those changes. So if it's Sophie, if it's Ben, if it's Tom, everybody who needs to work in this file will then do the same thing. They will browse to the server folder and they will download a copy of that file. So now as anybody who has a child copy, we call these child copies, okay? Anybody who has a child copy of this ICAB 2021 file, they will be able to synchronize their work. So let me show you when I click on the online status here and I go to properties, you can see this is the file that's sitting in the server folder. I call this the parent file. So this is the parent file on the highest level. And then below that, I have a child copy with my name showing up here as Ken Chan. So if Sophie opens one, she will have a copy just below hers that says Sophie. Then there's another one that says Ben, Tom, etc., etc. Each and every one of these users will appear at the bottom of this list. I will demonstrate that in a moment with my colleague Andre and in a different file for you. So this process of storing a file on a server folder and then dialing into that server folder or browsing to that server folder, okay, and then tick create synchronized copy is how you would use Caseware Smart Sync if you do not have Caseware Cloud. Okay, so for those of you who do not have Caseware Cloud, that is the end of your introduction for now. Please stay in the line because we'll be looking at a bunch more other stuff. This next part applies to those who have Caseware Cloud. Okay, this is the next part that we will look at, talking about Caseware Cloud. So first of all, before I actually go into Caseware working papers, I'm going to introduce everyone into Caseware Cloud here. Okay, let me start by signing out of the page. Okay, when you first come into Caseware Cloud, this is what you're going to see. It's going to ask you for an email address, and it's going to ask you for a password. So for those of you who have subscribed to Caseware Cloud, you have provided us with an admin contact. We have sent those admin contacts an invite to the cloud site. Every firm has their own cloud site. So you have been given a specific web address for your own firm or for your own organization. Okay. In terms of today's training, I have a firm here called SG Staging. So that's the name of my site. Okay, SG Staging. Do not use the address that you see on my screen because that's my site. You need to reach out to your admin or whoever your Caseware champion is and say, hey, what is our own site or what is our firm's cloud address? So they will provide that to you, and when you put it into a web browser, whether it's Google Chrome, Firefox, IE Edge, or whatever, when you put that into your web browser, you will then be faced with this login screen here. Okay, so fill in your email address and password, and click sign in, and this will bring you into your cloud site. Okay, so a quick run through of Caseware Cloud before we talk about SmartSync. Now, within Caseware Cloud, the menu, we like to call this the hamburger menu because it looks a bit like a hamburger. You've got a piece of bread with a piece of meat, a couple of slices of bread with a piece of meat in the middle, so that we call that the hamburger menu. You can call it the cloud menu, whatever you want to call it. Everyone should be familiar with this button in the top left corner here. Okay. In the hamburger menu, I click that and we open up a list of different areas we can go into. So I'm going to focus on a few things in here in terms of setting up your Caseware Cloud first. So we start by talking about the people that we want to invite into Caseware Cloud. So in here, I'm going to first start by coming into staff. Now, for those of you who have Caseware Cloud access, you understood that you had to purchase multiple licenses. Okay, each license you purchase allows you to create one staff member. So in this case here, you can see I have got 8 staff members because I have 8 licenses. Therefore, I can add 8 staff members into my cloud site. Okay, to create or to add a staff, you need to be the admin in here. So for those of you who was the first person into Caseware Cloud for your firm, you are set up as a full admin. You have the ability to add new staff. So to add a new staff member, you go new, and then you add staff. Okay. Within the add staff member screen here, I'm going to go through the required fields. So you must have an email address. You must have a first name and last name. So all 3 of these fields are the required fields. So I'm going to set this up. Let's just say, okay, let's say Sophie Sim. Okay, so Sophie Sim has been added to Caseware Cloud. I need the email address, first name, last name. Everything else is optional. So if you say, oh, within our firm, everyone has a specific initial. Sophie's initial is SOS. Fine, you can fill that in. Okay, you might say Sophie is the manager, audit manager. So you can fill that in. Honestly, you can leave it blank or you can fill it in. It doesn't really affect much else inside of Caseware Cloud. It's just a bit of a record if you choose to have that. Okay, you can fill in all these other bits of information. I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to jump straight into the next part. So the next thing we're going to look at is password. Okay, you have 3 options here. My recommendation is to use the first option, set by user. By leaving it as set by user, as soon as I click save, Sophie is going to receive an email from Caseware Cloud that says, hey, Sophie, you have been invited to Caseware Cloud. Click here to activate, join, blah, blah, blah. Follow the instructions within the email. That would be the best option here. You can automatically generate a password, okay? By using the auto-generate option, Caseware will not send an email. You need to go and manually send this password to Sophie. That's additional work. That's why it's not recommended. You can also manually set up a password for Sophie. So you can type a password in here if you want to. Now, once again, this will not send an email to Sophie. It's going to require manual work. You need to go and manually give Sophie that email, that password. So once again, not ideal, not the best solution. That's why we strongly recommend set by user. The system will send everything to Sophie for you, and you can let Sophie or whoever your staff members are deal with that next step. There's plenty of instructions available in that email. Okay. Next, I'm going to come down to system-wide roles. Now, within Caseware Cloud, obviously security is important to everybody because I need to know who can access what. Okay? If you were the first person into Caseware Cloud, you are given the full admin rights. Now, when it comes to full admin, I like to call it God mode. You can access everything. You can access all areas. You can do whatever you want within your own cloud site. So from a security point of view, I don't want to give that to everybody because I don't want people going in and deleting stuff or removing stuff or moving stuff around with the admin rights. Okay. However, we also recommend that for each firm, you have at least 2 admins. The reason for this is if one of the admin is no longer around or is maybe on holiday or on leave, and we need to do something, and they are the only admin on the cloud side, I might have to call them up, interrupt their holiday, and say, hey, sorry, can you please, come in and do this for me? I know you're on your holiday. I need this really urgent, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so if you have 2 admin, if one of them's not available, you can still get the other person to do it for you. That's important. At least minimum of 2 admins. Okay. If you don't want to give someone admin access, you can also still give them different level of admins. A staff admin can add, delete, and edit all staff members within your site. So if you look at what I've just done in terms of adding staff, not everybody can do that. Only a full admin or a staff admin can do this. So if it was a really high level manager I want to help me with staffing, I can say, okay, I'm going to give the Sophie staff admin. Okay. The next part, we're also going to talk about entities. Entities are your client entities. Each time you sign a new client or you want to start an audit for a new client, you need to be able to create an entity inside of Caseware. So if you don't have either full admin or entities admin, okay, you will not be able to create entities in the file. I have a question here. What is the difference between admin and staff admin? So Kazi, an admin is the equivalent of all 3 added together. Okay, so you can either tick settings admin, staff admin, and entities admin. That is the equivalent of full admin. But if you don't want to give someone full admin rights, you can say, I only want them to handle the staffing, then they get staffing only. If I want them to handle the entity information, they can become entity admin. Okay, and then settings. So within your cloud site, you have the ability to change and customize a lot of different settings. In here, someone with full admin or settings admin can change that information. So I will also talk a little bit about firm settings, not too much, but this firm settings admin is not something I want to give everybody because what the actions performed in the firm settings can affect the whole firm. So be very, very careful. Staff admin and entity admin, yes, you may need to loop in a couple extra managers, but settings admin, I would generally leave that alone and only provide that access to the full admin of the firm. So the partner or the IT director or the IT manager may need full admin, and then you might have a couple of managers being staff admin or entity admins. Okay. For those of you who do not want admins, then you need to think about the 4 option down here. Okay, owner allows you to view, edit, delete, and grant other users access to a specific file. So if I publish a file to the cloud, I share it to the cloud, and my colleague Sophie goes, hey, Ken, I want to get access to the file, but I can't see it. That is because they may not have been given one of these 4 access here. Okay, owner means they can do everything within a Caseware file. So they can go in, they can edit, they can delete. Now, if I don't want them deleting, then editor allows them to edit the file, which means they can now go in and change the data. They need the right to be able to work on that file. This is the 2 lowest minimum level that you must give to your staff member. You can give them viewer access, which means they can only read. So they can see the file, they can read the audit documentation, they can look at all the documents, but they will not be able to edit. They cannot document the work that they have done. Okay, so please do not use the viewer option. The minimum is editor, but for a bit more rights, you would give them owner, which allows them to delete files if they want to. Okay, so if I'm going to give Sophie here, I'm going to say Sophie is one of the managers who's going to help me with staffing. I'm going to go staff admin as well as owner for Sophie because she's a high level manager who needs to get access to certain things. Then I click save, and that will save Sophie into the list. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to add this user. So in your practice, you would click save to save the work. I'm just going to cancel to get out of here. Now, you also notice because this is one of my internal sites, I don't have a license count. On your site, on the top right corner here, you will see a number of licenses remaining, and that's how many licenses you can add to your cloud site. Okay. Kazi, so staff admin or entity admin cannot change the data yet. So you'll see that for Sophie here, I added as a staff admin, but I also have to give her owner. So even if it's just entity or staff admin, you also need to consider owner or editor access as well. Okay, the top 4 and the bottom 4 are considered separate rights. Full admin, you can do whatever you want, but the staff, settings, and entity admin, you will also need to consider owner or editor for them to be able to access the file and edit the file. Okay, so once we finish this, in here now, I have the ability to also get rid of staff members. So if let's say my colleague Wen Chen has left the firm and I want to return one of the licenses, you have the option to come in and delete that staff member. But please do not delete staff members. Okay, do not delete staff members. Do not use the delete option here if possible. What you want to do is go and edit the staff. So after a staff has been created, you can always come back in and edit the staff or change information for the staff. Okay, click in this here. Now, once you have this page, you'll notice that we can still make changes to anything that we had previously. So if I entered the wrong business number or the mobile phone number, I can change this. I can change the system-wide roles. I can go into password and reset their password if they've forgotten their password. Okay, but let's say if Wen Chen has left the firm, I can then turn her status into inactive. And by setting it as inactive, you will then return one of the licenses back into your pool. Okay. I have a question here. Tassin, just give me a moment while I look at the. Okay. So you can return one of these licenses back into the pool by setting the status to inactive. Kasin, I just saw your messages. Can we leave that? Can we bring that offline after the training? We'll try and figure that out together. But at the moment, I can't. I don't want to step away from this training to help you with that issue just yet because it will take us some time. Okay. So please just bear with us while we go through this training. Okay. Cool. So once we have set up all our stuff, the next thing here we also want to look at is contacts. So contacts are your client contacts. So at the moment, I can see we have James, we have Bill, we have George. They are all my clients. I have invited them to join me within Caseware Cloud. Okay. Before we look at contacts, I'm going to jump out here and look at entities. So within my entity screen, you will see a number of different client names in here. So I have ABC Motor Company, I have BTM Motor Company, I have DEF Furniture, I have GHI Electrical, I have JKL Chicken Shop. So all of these are my clients, okay? You are going to see a blue entity here with your firm name. That is the internal entity. Externally, each and every one of your clients must have an entity of its own. So DEF Furniture Company, they approached us and say, hey, I would like you to be my auditor. I say, okay, sure, let's shake the hand, sign the contract. All right, let's start the audit engagement. As soon as I want to start an audit engagement, I need to come into Caseware Cloud here and create a new entity. If you click on new, you're going to see 3 different types of colors. Green are for your external client entities. Blue are for your internal entities. You're going to say, this is a new client. So I'm going to choose to create a new client. And we're going to give that client a name. So I'm going to say this is the ICAB client. Okay, so the ICAB has asked us to audit their financial statements. So that's the ICAB, that's the name of the client. And then we're going to give them an entity number or a client number. So internally, if you have a client management system that has given you a client number or a client code, use that as the entity number in here so that it matches your own system. Otherwise, you can come up with your own. So I'm just going to go with 001 as my entity number or my client number. The entity number needs to be unique. Okay, so if you try and use, for example, if I already have ABC001, it's not going to work. It's going to tell me that it's already in use. So here, I'm just going to go with 001, and that will be the entity number or client number for this client here. You can then go through the left side and fill out all the other bits of information, phone number, social media profile, addresses. You can make memos. You can put description of the client in here, things to note. So all of this can be documented in your cloud so that if you have a new staff member coming in, they can look at all these information and get an understanding about this client. Okay, so once you have filled in all this information, I click save, and the client entity is created in here. So you see ICAB client is created as a client entity. So it's really, really, really important. This is a huge rule. So if you're taking a note now, please write this down and highlight it and draw over it and just make sure it's a rule everyone understands. Each of your client appears in here one time. So for example, DEF Furniture Company. If I now click into DEF Furniture Company, you are going to see some information regarding DEF Furniture Company. So you've got all the profile, all the information, and then I have the engagement files in here. So for DEF Company, I have actually completed 2 years worth of audit. I completed the 2020 audit, which is also stored on the cloud. And then I have the 2021 audit, which is also stored on the cloud. So going forward into the future for 2022, there's going to be a file in here that says 2022, 2023, 2024. So in the future, after 5 years, 10 years of using Caseware Cloud, if you ever wanted to know what happened, you wanted the history of this client, you can simply come into the DEF Furniture Company entity in cloud, and you will have a full history of the entire client here. Okay, and that will happen now for ICAB client, will happen for ABC Motor Company. Each of these will show up within your Caseware Cloud, and it's basically just a filing system on how you file your entities or your clients. Okay. One last thing I'm going to talk about here now is contacts. So coming back into contacts now, let's say I'm auditing the ICAB, and Afseen is my contact at the ICAB. I need to talk to Afseen about getting information, getting data. So I can then go new, I can go to contacts, and I can put in the details. So here, Afseen's first name, okay, Afseen's last name, and I'm going to say email address. I won't actually use a real one. I'll just say afseen@icab.com. That's her email address. And I need to tell Caseware, that the entity Afseen belongs to is the ICAB entity. So now there's a security around Afseen's entity. Okay, when Afseen logs into Caseware Cloud, she can only see the ICAB client entity. She cannot see any of your other clients. He has been locked into this entity and only this entity alone. Very, very, very important, because you don't want one of your clients accidentally seeing data or information about your other client. By telling Caseware which entity they belong to, Caseware will limit them to only that entity on your cloud site. Okay, we can come into the password. We leave it as set by user. That is the only thing we need to do. So email address, first name, last name, very important, which entity they belong to. And then I click save. And now Afseen's going to get an invite to Caseware Cloud, and she will be limited to that company. So similarly, you'll see George is part of the BTM Motor Company. So George can only see data or information related to BTM Motor Company. James can only see ABC Motor Company. Bill can only see DEF Furniture Company. They don't know each other exists. They don't know the other person exists. They don't know the other entities in this file. So if you call up George and say, hey, George, who are my other clients? George is going to say, I don't know. I cannot see anything within Caseware Cloud except for BTM Motor Company. Okay. So once you have this in here now, by the way, I can add as many contacts as I want. Remember how we talked about staff? Staff requires licenses. Contacts do not require licenses. You can add as many contacts as you want. Okay. So we have set up our Caseware Cloud now. It does take some time to set this up, invite everybody, invite or put in all your entities. Once you have your Caseware Cloud set up, you can now, we're now going to talk about publishing a file to Caseware Cloud. So on the other side of things, okay, I'm going to first start by launching Caseware Working Papers. For those of you who use Caseware Cloud, you're going to set it up first by logging into a cloud site. So I'm going to first go into the options menu, and then I'm going to go to Caseware Cloud. Now, you will notice on my screen that I can do a lot of things. I can integrate, I can tick, I can change all of this. If you log in here and it is fully, it is grayed out, which means you can't make any changes, you need to cancel and close all Caseware Working Papers first. Get out of all Caseware Working Papers file, and then come back in again to be able to get at that data, okay? So options in here, Caseware Cloud, I can now edit this section. If this is grayed out, close all of Caseware, come back in here again. So first thing you need to do is integrate with Caseware Cloud. Tick this option. If you don't tick, then this is grayed out. You can't do anything. Okay? Tick integrate with Caseware Cloud. Then, let me just clear this out. Then, this is what you're going to see. There's going to be blank. It's all going to be blank in here. Okay? We're going to come into the server and we're going to type the address. We're going to type the address of the server in here. So the address, if you open up your Caseware Cloud site, it's this address at the top here. So for me, it's ca.cwcloudpartner.com/ststaging. For most of you, it's bd.casewarecloud.com/firm name. That is what you need to put in there. So here, I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to put it into mine. And then I'll explain what you need to do on your side. Okay, so here you can see ca.cloudpartner. In yours, you need to say something like bd.casewarecloud.com/ and then there will be a firm name at the end of your address. Okay, put the firm name. So let's just say if my firm name was ICAB, I would then put the ICAB name there. Please follow the address that you have been given, okay? You cannot use the address that I've given you because that's not your site. You need to use your own Caseware Cloud site. Okay, so once you have that, make sure this is ticked to say it is active, and then click OK to come back out to Caseware Working Papers. And the first thing you're going to see is this login screen here. So it's going to ask you to log in with your information. I will do that. Let me just copy my password. Okay, I'm going to fill in my email address. And then I'm going to click sign in. And if it is successfully signed in, you're not going to see anything. It's going to close and you'll be like, oh, what happened here? That means this is good. Okay, it means the sign in was successful. If it failed, then you will get a warning that says it failed and please try again. Okay, I do have a few questions here. Okay, first of all, how do we change the username and password if audit staff change? From Muhammad Kadabu. Muhammad, if your audit staff has changed, you do not change the username and password. You add a new staff member. So you come back into staff here. Let's say Wen Chen has left, as I mentioned previously, Wen Chen has left the firm. You edit and turn them inactive. This will return a license to you, give you an extra license, and you can add a new staff like we normally do, okay? Do not change the details in here, because if you change this, all historical work that was done by this user will be updated to say that the new user did it, which is wrong because that new user was not part of your firm yet. Okay, please do not delete or change staff. Add new staff to your cloud site. Okay, if we log into Caseware Cloud from a browser, yes, Tassin, you can log into Caseware Cloud from any other computer with or without Caseware Working Papers. Okay, you can read the data on the cloud site, but you will not be able to work on that file because you don't have the Caseware Working Papers software. So Caseware Working Papers software that we looked at from day 1 to day 3 is limited to a specific computer where the software has been installed. Caseware Cloud can be accessed from anywhere around the world on any web browser as long as you have a login. Okay, so that was the setup that we looked at. That's really, really important. The setup of Caseware Cloud on your Working Papers system. Once it has been set up, once you saved and the password worked, you can then go into the SmartSync server here, and you will find that there is an address at the top. Okay, you can see a number of files because I already have files on my site. For you, you're not going to see any files yet because you haven't published or you haven't put any files onto the cloud. So nothing will appear in this list for you just yet. Okay, So now I have created a file. I have the training file that we used the other day. So everyone's familiar with this 30th of September ABC Motor Company file. Okay, this is the training file that we have been using or playing around with. What we're going to do now is share this file with the rest of my team by putting it on Caseware Cloud. To do so, I'm going to go to the Cloud tab at the top here, and we're going to publish. Before we publish, I want to show you my engagement properties and how it says ABC Motor Company. Okay? Here, when I go to Cloud, Publish, I need to pick the entity that it belongs to. Remember all the entities I created previously in my cloud site? These are all the different entities in here. So let's say this client belongs to ICAB client. So I can now, in here, go ICAB, and you will see ICAB client that we just created. If it belongs to ABC, I can type ABC, and that would belong to the ABC entity. So what this means is when I choose ABC Motor Company, Caseware is going to upload this file and store it under the ABC Motor Company entity. But if I put this under ICAB, it will then store it under ICAB client. Why is this important? Because remember the contacts who can access the different entities. By putting it under ICAB client, Afseen will be the one who can see that there is a file that has been started. Okay, if I send this to ABC Motor Company, maybe George, or I think it was Bill. Maybe Bill will be the one who sees this file. So putting it under the correct entity, files it under the right entity, that's really important. But also more importantly, you are only allowing the correct person to see that file. Okay, so I say this is going to go under ICAB client. Then I click OK. And same thing like before, it's just going to run through. Pay attention to the bottom right corner of my screen. Currently, it's blank, which means it's not a SmartSync file yet. Okay, look at this little section here where my mouse is. Now, see how it says NA, not available. Okay, leave that and wait for this to run. It will take a couple of minutes because what Caseware is doing now is taking all the data that I have on my C drive and sending it up to the cloud. So now it has changed from NA to publishing. You won't get this warning, so don't worry about this. It will say publishing. And now, see how it says online. Okay, while it is online, I just want to show you that we are the only one who is online here for the moment. Okay, so previously where it was a server address, now it is actually a cloud address, a cloud website. So it tells you that the file is stored in this cloud site, and we have one copy here for the moment. Okay, I'm going to show you what happened on the cloud. So if I come back out to my cloud site now, when I go into ICAB client, come down, ABC Motor Company A, 30th of September 2021. Can everyone see that file there? So what I have just done was take this file, put it on the cloud, and this is now available on the cloud for the rest of my team. On the other side, if I have someone who wants to download this file, so now let's just say I'm Sophie again. So now I call up Sophie and say, hey, Sophie, the file is ready to be downloaded. Sophie goes, where is it? You say, oh, it's on the cloud. So Sophie can then come into SmartSync server and click on this refresh button, and you will see this file here. ICAB client, ABC Motor Company A, 30th of September 2021. Can everybody see that? Okay, I can also change it to the file name. There we go. ABC Motor Company, 30th of September 2021. That is the file that we just uploaded. If you want to look at it, you can look at the last modified date which was about 4 minutes before this.
Senior
Okay.
Officer Procurement and
So,
Senior Officer Finance.
so Sophie, on her side, can simply just double click on this file. And when she does that, it will download the file onto her computer. So let's pretend we are Sophie for the moment, okay? So I'm going to pause here for a moment. Let me set this up and I'll pretend that we are Sophie downloading a new file. So ignore what I'm doing here for now. I'm just going to pretend that we are Sophie. Yada, yada, yada. I get a call from my manager, Ken, and says, hey, Sophie, file's ready for you. Okay, so we are Sophie. We don't have the file on our computer yet. To prove that to you, I will come into my data folder and you will see that that ABC Motor Company 30th of September file is not here. Okay, it's not on my computer. I don't have that copy because I'm Sophie. So I get a call from Ken and says, hey, please download that file. So I go, okay, let's download that file from the ICAB Motor Company file from the cloud. So I open up Caseware Working Papers. I go into SmartSync Server. Because I'm already set up and logged into Caseware Cloud, I will see that file here. Okay, double click, and you will get a downloading message. So it says there, downloading client file. We give it about a minute, 30 seconds, depending on your internet, depending on the file size. Okay. The file is now downloaded. Okay, so the file has now been downloaded. Let me show you what that means by it has been downloaded. In my data folder, there we go. It was previously not there. Now I've downloaded a copy and stored it into my data folder here. Okay, so everything I do now is going to go up to the cloud and synchronize with the cloud. My colleague, Andre, has also downloaded a copy. So when I go into the property screen, you can see Andre and myself are both online at the moment. Okay, that is true. This icon here. Andre, can you please close the file down? And let me know when you have closed it. I'm just getting my colleague to close his file.
Yeah, close.
Okay, so Andre has closed his file, which means he is no longer online. Can you see that his line here is gray? This button is gray, which means he is not online. So in a moment later, when he comes back online, it would then turn into this color like us, which signifies that he is online. Okay, so now we have a file on our computer. We are ready to start working. So Andre, if you don't mind, please reopen that file. And we're going to just demonstrate very, very quickly some of the SmartSync features that are available. So Andre, please let me know when you're ready, and I'll tell you what we need to do, and we will demonstrate to everybody the SmartSync features here. So I'm not going to be doing anything in this file. I'm actually going to get my colleague Andre to work on the file, and we're just going to review the file as his work comes in. Okay. So this next part here is for everybody. This is now SmartSync again. So for those of you who did not have Caseware Cloud, this is now going to apply to you because the SmartSync feature is available to everyone. It's where the files are being stored that was the difference. Okay. So continuing on, everybody has who has Caseware SmartSync, you can now continue on with this training and focus on what we're looking at here. So just to quickly demonstrate Caseware SmartSync, Andre, I am going to get you to upload some Excel, PDF, and Word documents for me into the property, plant, and equipment folder, please. So Andre is based in Singapore. I am actually based in Malaysia. So we're completely separate countries. And as he puts those documents up, can you see on my screen the schedule, the listing, the invoice document is showing up immediately. Okay, his work that he's performing on his side in a different country is coming up on my computer within 3 to 5 seconds. So Andre, let's go into the lead sheet document now. And within this lead sheet document, give me 1 second while I delete some of these tick marks so that everybody can see it properly. So I'm just going to quickly delete some of these tick marks here. And Andre, when you get a chance, let me zoom in for a moment. Andre, when you get a chance, can you go to one of these lines here and start to annotate your work? So give us a couple of annotations on a few lines. There we go. You can see a little tick mark has just shown up that has been completed by Andre. This one has also been completed by Andre. So Andre, can you please give us a note?
Yeah.
There we go. Within 3 to 5 seconds, you have a message here from Andre that says, "Hi everyone, I am Andre." Okay, all of this is done from a different location, but we can see it immediately in this file. So whatever you do is live updating because we are online. Okay, Andre, on this document, let's come back out to the document manager. Andre, can you please sign off the property, plant, equipment lead sheet?
Yeah, junior one sign up.
There we go. Andre has signed off with his initials there as he's completed the work completely different, far away from me. Okay, so this is Caseware SmartSync at play here. And like I mentioned, all you have to do is just let it run. It runs in the background. You notice that I didn't have to click anything or tick anything or do it, tell Caseware to do any synchronization. It is all live and automatic as long as you have an internet connection and it says online. Now, if you don't have an internet connection, it will then show up as offline in here. Can everyone see the offline status? So that is the offline status that we have. Okay, that means I do not have an internet connection. Okay, let's pause here for a moment. Anybody has any questions so far? Okay, don't see any questions coming in. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the basic management of your Caseware files, of your Caseware SmartSync files. Okay, like we covered off in day 1 already. Can SmartSync be used by revoking the license? Mr. Rupp, if you're talking about revoking Caseware license here, then yes, no, the whole software will stop working, so you cannot use any of the synchronization or Caseware working papers. Okay, SmartSync is tied into your Caseware working papers license. They work together. So without a license, both Caseware working papers and SmartSync will not work. Yes, so if we have 2 people work or update in the same document, then we will get a conflict, and we will cover how to resolve those conflicts in this training session. Okay, so bear with us for a bit. This is not the end of the training yet. We're just looking at the very, very basic of opening and closing, but we will go into conflict resolution in a moment. Okay, anybody who has not received those recorded videos or recordings from the first 3 days, please, under the chat system, there is a to button, and in there, look for Miss Afseen button. Send her a message directly with your email address requesting those recordings, and she will send you a link to download those videos. So anybody who's looking for those training videos, Afseen, who is one of our co-hosts of this session, please reach out to her personally via a DM, via a direct message in Zoom with your email address, and she will send you the link to download those videos. Okay, so now that we are within a Caseware file, what happens when I'm done with it? What happens with I'm finished working for the day? So I've completed my work for today. I now want to finish off and go to sleep, and then wake up tomorrow and work on the file. Like we have done in the first 3 days, we simply just close the file by clicking on the X button, top right corner, to close Caseware. Okay, close Caseware working papers. Okay, the next day, I come back into Caseware working papers again. How do I reopen that Caseware file? You will see that it is on your recent file list. So on the recent file list, anything with the green circle means that it has a Smart Sync session. Don't worry about the not fully synchronized. You can ignore the message in here. Okay? If I cannot find the file under my recent file list, where do I go to find the engagement file? I can browse to my computer. Under my default folder, which is the data folder, you will find the files in here. Okay, the files with the word sync are the ones that have a Smart Sync session. Okay, if it does not appear in this list, it means you do not have a copy on your C drive yet, on your own folder. So if you don't have a copy, I have already shown you. For those of you who use Caseware Cloud, you go to Smart Sync Server and you look for the file. There is a search bar at the top here to say ABC Motor Company, 30 June 2021, and that will quickly search a file for you. Okay, for those of you who use Caseware Cloud, you go to the Smart Sync Server tab and find it under the Smart Sync Server tab. For those of you who do not have Caseware Cloud and you cannot find the folder, you cannot find the file under your data folder, it means you haven't downloaded a copy yet. So you then browse and go to your server folder, your own internal server folder, and find the file by ticking create a synchronized copy. So 2 different methods of opening depending on whether you have cloud or not. If you have not subscribed to cloud yet, please, and if you wish to, please reach out to us. I will share some information at the end of this session. You can contact Afseen from the ICAB as well as my colleague Andre, and we can talk to you about subscribing to our cloud service. So if you use the cloud service, everything is stored on the cloud for you. You don't have to set up your own server internally. Okay, so I already have those files. I'm just going to open them now. So when I open this, I want you to pay attention to the bottom right corner of my screen. Look at the bottom right corner of the screen. Okay. It goes from offline here. I can change this back to online now. See how it says thinking, and then it's online. Okay, so there are different statuses in here that will allow you to look at the different status. Why would you go offline on purpose? I don't really have much of a reason. It's just there. You don't have to touch it. Like I said, you don't have to switch it to offline if you don't want to, and we don't recommend that you do. Okay, if you're online, everything else is done for you automatically. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you what we call a exclusive lock. So Andre, I can see that you're still in this file. Can you please open the 1.101 audit procedure document? Let us know when it's fully opened on your screen. So Andre is going to work on the property plant equipment audit procedure document.
Yep, it's open.
Okay, so Andre is now has that document open on his computer, and he's working on that same on that document. What happens if I try to open this same document now? We have something called an exclusive lock, in the sense that it tells you Andre is currently working on the computer, on that file, on that document, and you are not allowed to use it at the same time. Okay, so to the question that just came in, what happens if two people work and update the same file at the same time? You cannot do that if you're both online, because we block you from doing such a thing. Okay, it says, would you like to open a read-only copy? I will say yes, let's open the read-only copy. If I click no, it won't open, nothing's going to open. By saying yes, we will now open a read-only copy of this file or of this document. Okay, and you'll notice that we cannot do anything in here. So I'm trying to click in all of these and nothing's happening. Okay, let's close that down now. I'll close and exit. Okay, Andre, can you please close that document?
Yep, done.
So Andre is now out of that document. When I try to open the same document here, I don't get a warning because nobody is using or working on that document. Okay, so now there is no read-only here. So what I do, I can actually come in and sign work all. So there is a conflict prevention feature if all your users are online and working online at the same time. That's why I say, if possible, stay and remain online for as long as you can. Now, in terms of internet usage, we are not synchronizing the whole file at the same time. Caseware is identifying the changes, the small changes you make, and sending only the changes up and down. What this means is we are actually really, really light on bandwidth. Okay, don't forget, Caseware SmartSync was developed almost 10 years ago. If you think back to 10 years ago, internet was actually still very expensive, especially the mobile bandwidth. much cheaper these days, but 10 years ago, we had to develop something that was very, very lightweight because otherwise people will not use it if it was a very heavy internet use. Okay, so really, really light bandwidth in terms of what is actually synced up and down. It is the downloading. When you first download a brand new file, that takes up a lot of bandwidth. You can do that at home or at the office. But if you're using those mobile internet and you have very limited data, leaving it online will not chew up a lot of data for you. Okay, so that's one thing there. Now, if we are both online, it's all great. Everybody can work, no problems. What happens if either one of us is offline and we both make contradictory work in the file? So we're going to do this now together, okay? Andre, you stay online. I'm going to go offline here because let's just assume maybe my internet dropped out, okay? Or I didn't pay my bill, they canceled my service. So I can still work on the file because it's offline. I can still access the file because it's stored on my PC, but I just cannot synchronize my work because I don't have internet. Now, I can access a file still. So Andre, I'm going to get you to open up 101 again, the same document. On Andre's side, no error messages. But on my side, because I am offline, Caseware comes up with this warning. It says, I am unable to obtain an exclusive lock because there is no internet connection now. I don't know what's going on out there. Someone could be using it. So would you like to open up in read-only mode? If I was reviewing it, yes, I would open in read-only. But because I need to work on this document, I will say open normally. And by opening this normally, I can now edit and work on this document, which becomes a problem because Andre is also doing the same thing on the same document. Okay, so Andre, we're going to go down to policy procedure, and I would like you to sign off everything as completed, no exceptions. Can you let me know when you've done that?
Done.
Okay, I'm going to sign off as not possible to complete. So now we have contradicting information. Okay, I will also complete procedure number 3 of scheduled. I'll just say completed here. Okay, no problems. Okay, so we've both done contradictory work, or we have maybe worked on different sections, but not merged our work together. So I'm not getting stopped by Caseware because we are offline. Caseware has no idea what's going on. Andre, please close and save your document. Okay, so I go off, I do all the work that I want, I fill things out, I'm offline this whole time. None of my work is going out, I'm not receiving anybody's work coming in. Andre has no idea what I'm doing, I have no idea what Andre is doing.
Yep.
Okay, Andre has saved his work, he has finished for the day. I come back home where I have internet access again. So I open up the file and I say, okay, Caseware, go back online. So now you see the syncing. Caseware syncing, everything that Andre did is coming into my file. Everything I did is going back up to Andre's computer. Immediately, Caseware finds a conflict. Synchronization conflict occurred in the bottom right corner here. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see it. This is a bit, it's really, really tiny, but there is a tiny little 1, red dot here with the 1. Okay, which means there is one document with an error. Same thing in here. I know this document has the error because of this yellow warning sign against that document. In case we're saying, hang on, there's a problem here because you both put in conflicting data at the same time. So how do we resolve this? So we have built in a resolution tool. So all I need to do is click on this bubble and Caseware will open up this document here. Okay, so it says changes made by Ken was overwritten by Andre about 1 second later. We both worked on it at the same time, literally. Okay, so now you need to resolve this conflict by clicking on the conflict here. So if we worked on 5 documents and they were 5 conflicting documents, you would have 5 documents in here. But we only did 1, so only 1 shows up and says there's a conflict. Okay, I click confirm, and you now see the 2 different versions. The current version is the one that's on the face of your document manager. So the current version is the one that's going to show up when I double click on this document here. The conflicting version is the one that sits in the background behind the scenes. Okay, we saved both copies for you. We didn't delete anything. You didn't lose any work. But you need to now tell Caseware which one should be the actual live working version. So if I came in and said, no, Andre did the wrong thing, I'm going to keep mine, I can then choose my version here and set as current. If we agree that Andre's version is the correct version, then we leave it and we can click confirm. Now, how do I know which version is correct and which version is not? You can choose either version here and click the view button. This view button will show you the work that has been done. So I am currently viewing my version, the one that everybody saw. My version has been signed off as not possible to complete by Ken. I also signed off, completed with no exceptions, also by Ken. That is my version. Let's minimize this for a moment. I'm going to review Andre's version by selecting Andre's version and then going to view. Okay, ignore the script execution, just click OK. And in here, you see Andre's version completed, no exceptions. That is signed off by Andre. The schedule hasn't been completed yet. Okay, so you have 2 copies here. You can now make the decision. Which one do I keep? Which one do I get rid of? So here, I'm going to close both copies. Bear with me for a second. Okay. So we come back in here again. Okay, I do have a couple of questions. Let's answer those questions because they tie in here. How do we know which portion of documents is overwritten or conflicting? Schedule. We don't tell you that. Unfortunately, we cannot track that. We can give you the whole document. It's up to the user to manually review it. So you have to open both documents and review the document. After you finish reviewing, you can only keep one or the other. So in this scenario, if Andre completed the first half of the document and I completed the second half of the document, you need to decide which one to keep. And the one that you don't keep has to go and redo the work in the new version. Okay, and how do we ensure which one is my version and which one is the other? So to review, this you can see the name and the time. So because we literally did it at the same time, it's 1 second apart, but in practice, it would be much further apart because you don't plan to do it together. Okay, you can review the modified by date here. And Harun, yes, the conflicting areas are not highlighted because we cannot track that for you. You have to manually review it and look at it yourself. That's not something that we can do due to the way that the document is designed. Okay. So now we make the decision. We say that I'm going to keep my version because I'm a bit more selfish. I'm going to keep my version, and I am going to remove Andre's version from the live version here. So I'm going to pick mine, and I'm going to say set as current. So what's going to happen now is when you try to open this version on the document manager, it's going to have my work there. If Andre's work also needs to be kept, you will have to go and manually do that extra work in there. One additional thing you can consider, if you want to, you can also save Andre's copy as a separate copy here. So I can choose Andre's copy and go save as. It will say 1.102 because that's the next number in sequence. And I'll click OK. It's doing a bit of thinking. Acting a bit weird today. What's going on? Okay, so you see 1.102 is on the document manager. So we ignore that for a moment. I have now saved Andre's copy onto the document screen. I can now click confirm to remove that warning message. So now you can see this is actually grayed out. It's a lighter color because it has been resolved. If I untick show all conflicts, Caseware will only show you conflicts you have not resolved yet. Once you resolve everything, then there will be nothing listed in here. If I want to see a history of any conflict that happened previously, I can tick show all conflicts, and that will then show up any historical conflicts that we have already resolved. Okay, so on my document manager, you can now see property, plant, equipment, audit procedure with Andre's name, date, and time it was saved. Okay, huge, huge, huge warning here. If you save this document, you cannot use two audit procedures because they are the same document. It's duplicated. What you can do, if you want it for historical purposes, I can right-click Save as a PDF file. I can save it onto this document or save it into this engagement. Okay, and then I need to delete the document that we saved because you cannot have two of the same audit procedure document. You're doubling up your work. So I'm going to delete this guy, and then I have a copy here. Maybe we can change the name a bit. It's a bit okay. And you now have a PDF of what Andre has done. Not sure why it's not showing. Let's move on. And then we have this copy here that when I open it up, you will see the work that I have done. So all of this has my sign off in here because I was the one who did the work, not Andre's work. Okay. If you then change your mind later on, we also have the ability to look at previous versions. So in here, in previous version, I can right click and go to show versions. Show version will basically show me any old version that we kept. So for example, at 2:19 p.m. today, remember when I showed you, I opened up the file to demonstrate the exclusive lock? That happened about 20 minutes ago. And when I saved it, Caseware made a snapshot of that file at that point in time. Okay, this is the conflicting version that we decided not to keep. This is the live version that I worked on and kept. So at any point in time, I can still come back into any case view or external documents and look for old versions of that document. So if we go back, I went and said, yep, I'm going to keep mine. Andre went to our partner and said, hey, no, Ken did this, blah, blah, blah. And the partner says, no, I'm going to keep Andre's copy. It's not the end of the version, not the end of the world, because I can still recover Andre's copy by right-clicking and going back to show version. Okay, then if we say, yes, we want to keep Andre's copy, then I go set as current, and Andre's version now becomes the current version. So when I open this up now, we are going to see Andre's work in here. Okay, while that's opening, I just have a question here. What about the numbering of 102, Asan? So because I had 102 and then I deleted it, 103 will not renumber itself. It will stay as 103. I can show you in a moment after this how to renumber back to 102. So this document now is Andre's version. And to show you, when I come down here, you can see all the sign-off belongs to Andre. That is the show versions of capability. That's not the only option here to use. Oftentimes I have seen this. I get a call from a partner that says, hey, Ken, hoping you can help me out here. I worked on this document, or I reviewed this document. I put all my work in, but one of the juniors came in. They didn't realize it. They wiped out all my work and they put their own work in. It's going to take me half a day or 2 days to redo all that work. Can you help me out? I said, yes, of course. We open up and we review the show versions list. If the partner's version that was saved in here, we can use this ability to restore something that was previously already saved in the file. Okay, no promises, no guarantees that it's going to be there, but it is worth exploring as an option to see if it's possible or not. So if it's not possible, you haven't lost anything anyways. You were going to redo that work. But if it was possible to restore, you may have saved yourself half a day or 2 days worth of work. Okay, so if I wanted to renumber this back to 102, you can right-click on any document, not just the PDF, any document in this document manager, go to the properties and change the number at the top here to 102, and Caseware will renumber it for you. It is going to be a manual process. We cannot automatically renumber the documents if it has been moved. Okay, so any other questions regarding the synchronization and conflict? While we wait, please bear with me, and I'm going to do something here. You don't have to follow this next step. I'm just going to demonstrate to you some really bad habits that we see. And we see a lot of bad habits when we deal with Caseware SmartSync. So I will want to show you some of these bad habits you might get into and how to avoid them and how to fix or how to stop any of these. Bad habits are not the end of the world, but it can cause maintenance issues in the future if you have too many of these bad habits. Okay, so I do want to show you some best practices. Those of you who are policy makers, decision makers, watching this video, maybe you want to write a few of these down and enact some policies after this training, when you start using Caseware, want to enact some of these policies to ensure everybody's following the same rules. I like to say Caseware is like driving a car. If everybody's on the road driving the same car, the car following the same rules, everybody stays on one side of the road, everything runs smoothly. If everyone's following their own rules, someone might drive in the middle of the road, that will cause a lot of problems. So having policy to say everybody must do certain things this way for the entire firm ensures a smooth operation. Okay. Okay, cool. So I now have a Caseware file here. Okay. If I already have the Caseware file and I go into SmartSync server and I try to download the file again, you are going to get this warning message here. A synchronized copy already exists. Multiple copies are not allowed on the same computer. We will open the existing copy instead. If you click cancel, nothing's going to open. We are going to force you to only click OK. So we're going to open the copy that has already been downloaded onto your computer. Okay. Another thing, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but over the training, I have opened multiple copies, lots of different copies of Caseware, because you can work on multiple files at the same time, and you can open multiple files at the same time. So if I have this Caseware file ABC Motor Company already open, and I try to open it again, I go to my computer, I go to my data folder, and I try to say, oh, where's my motor company file? I don't know, I'm gonna open it again. Okay, when you try to open the file again, you get this warning message. This file is in use by Ken Chan. Hey, that's us. Shared access is not supported. I can only click OK. So when I see this warning message, it's Caseware telling me, you're Ken Chan. Caseware telling me, hey, you're already using this. Go and look for it. Okay, so I click OK. I come down here. Oh, the file's already opened. Okay, you might look at that and go, who's going to make that mistake? You will be surprised how many people make this mistake. I see this at least twice a month. Okay, so be aware of the warning messages that you see. The rule with Caseware files is that you can only have one copy at a time, or you should have only one copy at a time. Okay, in this file here, you'll notice when I come into the property screen, I made a mistake. I have two copies. Can you see my name appearing here twice? Okay, if your name shows up twice in this structure, you are not running efficiently. So let me explain a little bit about the up and down of the data transfer. Okay, look at this as a highway. Look at this as a freeway. So the data going up and down are cars. Now, the more files you have, the more data it goes up and down, up and down. Okay, so at the moment, we have 3 persons worth of data going up and down. Okay, that's not as efficient because you're using more than you need because there's only 2 of us. So the short thing to note here with this property screen is that you should always only have one person showing up once. If you have more than one file, you need to identify the file and delete the file. Now, put a bookmark there. We'll talk about deletion, one of the last things, and one of the most important things that we want to talk about is deleting Caseware files, okay? So the maintenance here that you need to take note of is everyone should only appear in this list once. If you appear more than once and you don't know what happened, feel free to contact us on support and we can guide you through. We can understand what's happened, explain to you what has happened, and then show you how to resolve it. Okay, so let's close this down now. Okay, let's talk about deleting files. There is only one way. If you're watching this and you have SmartSync and you have Caseware Cloud, there is only one way to delete files from your computer. Okay, I'm going to show you that now. A lot of people will think, oh, I want to delete a file. I'm going to come into my data folder and delete it. That is not correct. Day 1, day 2, day 3, someone asked me, how do I delete file? I said, oh, you come into data or you come into wherever the file is stored and you hit delete. That's for non-Smart Sync users. For those of you who have Smart Sync, who has an online copy here, the only way to delete a file is through the cloud or Smart Sync tab. So if you're watching this video and you're comparing it to your screen, if you have a cloud subscription, it will say cloud. If you don't have a cloud subscription, it would say Smart Sync. So this tab to the left of tools will automatically change depending on your subscription. So you're going to come into this tab here, and we're going to use the delete copy option. Okay. The delete copy option will delete the file from my computer and only my computer. It's not going to delete the server copy, so don't worry about it. So here, before I click on delete, I'm going to show you I have ABC Motor Company on my computer in the data folder. When I click delete copy, then I click yes, it will now delete the file from my data folder. It removes all history of that from my Caseware, so you don't even see it at the top here. And it deletes itself from the data folder as well. So what that does is remove the entire history of that file from the structure. All the work that you have done has been saved and synchronized, but it's no longer on your computer. Why do we want to do that? Let me show you, wrong one, sorry. Let me show you what has happened. Okay, by using the cloud delete copy that we just did, we actually deleted from this list. So remember how just now we had Andre and then I showed up twice? By using the delete copy, Caseware removes one of those copies from the list. It tells the whole family here, hey, that file no longer exists. Do not send or receive any data. So you're reducing the amount of data being used up and down. Okay. It also cleans it off your computer, so it removes everything cleanly from your computer. And one last thing it does, you can only delete a file if you are online. So if I was offline and I tried to delete the file, it's not going to let me delete because we are offline. Okay. See how it forced me online just to be able to delete. Now, the reason you can only delete while you're online is because before deletion, Caseware will actually run a check on your whole file. It's going to compare your whole file to your colleagues and to the server. And it says, is everything exactly the same? If it's not the same, for example here, I'm going to make a change. Let me just quickly make a change in this file. Okay, I'm going to make a change in this file without synchronizing it. I forced it to not synchronize. Now, when I try to delete this file, Caseware says, hey, before you delete, this Word document has local modifications you have not synchronized yet. If you delete this file now without synchronizing, all the work that you've done in that Word document will be lost. Okay, so do you want to synchronize before you delete? You can say yes, or you can say no, up to you. But it does run a check for you. If I simply just jumped into my data folder or wherever and just deleted the whole folder, the check will not be done. And because that check is not done, if you miss out on any synchronization, all that work has to be redone. No, I guarantee you, you can call us and there's nothing we can do to help you restore any work that has been lost. Okay, so that's why when you delete files, only use the delete copy here. When I delete this copy, it does not delete the cloud copy. On the cloud, that file still stays there. That delete copy is only to delete my local C drive copy. Okay, on the cloud, you can delete the file. I'm not going to look at that today because it's more advanced and we don't really have any more time. And we do have a lot of safeguard put in place that not everybody can just simply delete a file. Okay, on the cloud, it is really, really secure because deleting a file on the cloud, it's a big deal. On your own C drive, it's not so much of a big deal because if I had deleted that file and I wanted it back again, I just go to the cloud and download a new copy. But what's important is that all your work is fully synchronized to the cloud so that everybody has it. Okay, if you accidentally delete it and you want it back, it's already on the cloud. It's available on the cloud that you can download it again. Okay, so that ends our training session in terms of using Caseware SmartSync and Caseware Cloud. There are more advanced stuff that's going to come through. I've been having some thoughts. I might run monthly webinars like this for the ICAB just to pick up some more advanced chapters or more advanced topics and present them in a short 30-minute session every month, just so you guys can keep improving your skills. I'll be in discussion with the ICAB and then we'll inform you guys of that. But when it comes to the deletion, please rewatch this video. Make sure all your users understand it because it's really important. I say this, I've been training this for the last 8 years, and I say this exact same thing for the last 8 years, and I guarantee you, it's still our most popular issue on help desk, on support, is people accidentally deleting the wrong file or not deleting the correct method. So please rewatch this if you have to, send me questions if you have to, but make sure you understand the deletion of files from your computer. When we talk about deletion, you don't have to delete your file at the end of each day. You delete it at the end of the engagement. So when I have completed my job in that engagement and I don't want to keep it on my computer anymore, you can then delete it from your computer, okay? Also, for those of you who are making policies, think about that because all my files are saved on the C drive, okay? If you keep all these files on your C drive on the laptop and someone ends up losing the laptop, there could be a breach of data there by keeping too many files on the laptop. So think about security as well. Implementing a policy, as long as you finish the audit, get rid of the file from your computer. If you want it again next year for review, sure, go and download it from the server again. It's not a big deal, okay? Think about that when we talk about all these different policies. So that brings us, we are 7 minutes away from our scheduled ending. I'm going to now open up the floor for any questions. If you have them, please feel free to type in any questions you may have. Obscene does have a couple of things that we want to note. The session on the 28th of June is a follow-up Q&A session. It's not training. Everything you need to know about training and how to use Caseware is already covered in the last 3-4 days. You should be able to go off and start working on files already. Please go ahead and do some practical playing around, testing. All the training materials that I have provided will give you a sandbox environment to test around and play around if you want to. For those of you who have joined us on today's session, if you only have one license, you don't have SmartSync, you don't have Caseware Cloud, okay? You notice that SmartSync and Caseware Cloud is for multiple users working on the same file. So for those of you who subscribe to just one license, our advice was you don't need SmartSync or Caseware Cloud. But as mentioned over the last 3 training sessions, if you want to have multiple users, multiple computers, you need multiple licenses. So if you look after you've gone through all the training that we have done today, and you say, oh yes, we need more licenses, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm going to put up some emails on my screen now. Okay. My colleague Andre, who's on the call with us today, you can email him at andre.ong@caseware.com. And you can also email Abdin.
Yep.
Okay, both of them. For any licensing request, any sales request, please make sure you email both of them. Andre will deal with the Caseware side of things. Abdin will work with you on the ICAB side of things. It is imperative that you include the ICAB in the conversation because we have offered ICAB a special pricing. It's 50% cheaper in the first year. So if you don't tell us or if we don't realize that you're with the ICAB and they're not involved in that conversation, you will be paying 100%. So you'll be paying double the price for the first year subscription. So please be aware of that and make sure you include Abdin in that email, in that conversation. If you're looking at today's training and say, oh, we want to use SmartSync, we want to use Caseware Cloud, and you want more licenses, that's the people that you want to talk to. Okay. Abdin will also be the point of contact for all support queries, as well as myself. So you can also email myself here, ken.chan@caseware.com. For any support questions. Once again, we want to include the ICAB in that conversation. The idea here is that we would like to have ICAB funnel through all that knowledge so that the ICAB can grow in terms of their Caseware knowledge. And then hopefully in the future, they can be a point of contact for any Bangladesh-specific queries, Bangladesh-specific requests. They can be able to help out and give you more local knowledge as well. So let's keep everyone talking together. And, you know, I would love to expand on this cooperation, expand on this, this partnership. Okay, so looking at questions coming in, we don't have any questions so far. If you don't have any questions and if you've got a next meeting to get to, I want to say thank you for your time. It has been a very, very good 4 training sessions. I do have a few support questions privately that I need to get back to for those of you who have issues with installation and all that. Look through the videos, look at the solutions that we have on offer. If you have any questions about what we've covered over the last 4 days, please feel free to reach out and we can discuss that further, okay? Otherwise, if you don't have a question, thanks everyone for your time. Thanks for your attendance. Hopefully you've picked up a lot of stuff from Caseware. And if you have any questions after this session, after today, we will have the ability to bring that up on Monday, same time, 11 a.m. local time. And if you do have another meeting, you can log off, but I will stay online for a few more minutes if there are questions coming in, okay? So yes, thank you everyone, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.
Thank you, everyone.